In the United States, there's recently been a surge of support for the LGBT community. Specifically, the transgender community has become much more visible than ever. But in the Philippines, the trans community has always been visible and is deeply ingrained in Filipino culture.
The best thing to be accepted is to be yourself.
As we will discover, the trans community is in need of much more than just visibility.
We are not legally acknowledged and we are not legally protected.
If being acknowledged is the first step, what is next?
So we just arrived in the Philippines where we're going to meet with a community of trans women.
The transgender woman here is celebrated, often through beauty pageants actually, though she does not have political and legal representation, and she definitely does not have equality.
Our first stop is to meet up with Maki, a transgender beauty queen turned activist from Cebu.
Cheers!
She's been in the Philippines.
Welcome to the Philippines.
Can you share with us sort of what trans women are fighting for in the Philippines?
So many things to fight for, but I personally would go for gender recognition.
What does that mean, gender recognition?
You will be legally acknowledged by who you really are, regardless of what's between your legs.
Because of the laws currently set in place in the Philippines, Maki is legally unable to change her gender marker to female and is still considered male to anyone who asks for her identification. This became very real for her when she was denied access to a women's locker room at her fitness center. The event caused Maki to take action, and she promoted a campaign that spread the message, "My genitalia has nothing to do with my gender identity."
You have to go to a men's locker room. It's very freaky.
Threatened by men.
It's very scary.
Has there been any legislation that's been, proposed?
Yes, that's what we are working on right now. The anti-discrimination bill, which easily and freely identify ourselves and it's legally acknowledged by our country.
Something else I wanted to chat with you about is just the culture of beauty pageants. I don't know, there's mixed opinions about beauty pageants, particularly in the feminist community, whether it's a hindrance to female progress. What is the beauty pageant scene like for the trans community?
I think it's a platform to tell everybody our message. I am a transgender woman. I wanted to be respected as a woman. I deserve to be referred as a woman.
Tonight, Maki has agreed to take us to one of the beauty pageants so we can get a closer look at how integrated the trans community is in Filipino culture.
Hi, this is where I started.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, so ornate.
Good luck. And there's little kids around every single girl.
All these cars are going by, it's like changing backstage, and what they're doing and what they're about is one with me culture.
Good evening, mabuhay, ladies, gentlemen, and in between, please stand in front of you. I may not be perfectly beautiful, but I am happy because I am perfectly me.
We have such a great sisterhood.
Yeah, they're so supportive. Even that is very different from how you think of pageant culture.
Yeah.
They're competing, but not really.
Yeah.
It's like a celebration.
Do you have mango?
Mango?
Yeah.
Gina, fresh mango. Ano mo dun ituro?
We're getting the mango hookup.
This woman's got the fresh mango. Look at all this mango.
Oh, wow. Lots of mango.
Thank you.
You want the best mango in the Philippines? There's a mango house.
Yeah.
Today, we're on our way to meet up with good friend Gina Rosero.
International activist and model who actually grew up here but lives in the US now. And so we're excited to explore and understand her perspective of being a transgender activist both in Eastern culture and Western culture. Cheers to friendship.
Cheers.
On the other side of the world.
So we got to go to a beauty pageant You participated in beauty pageants kind of from a young age. How has that helped you?
Beauty pageant is so important for me. It took me from nobody in like a little city outside Manila and just took me to the stratosphere.
It's been, I think, a year and a half since you came out to us as being a trans woman. And then 3 to 4 months after that, you spoke at TED.
I was assigned boy at birth based on the appearance of my genitalia. Today is my real coming out. I want to do my best to help others live their truth without shame and terror. I wanted it big and loud. I felt like I really wanted to use whatever capacity that I could bring a spotlight into this community, into this identity. I never had an idea that it would come to this at such a short amount of time.
Gina's TED Talk opened many doors for her and allowed her voice to be heard in a multitude of media outlets. It even brought her to the White House. She's the face of Marriott's Love Travels campaign and also started her own nonprofit, Gender Proud, a transgender advocacy and awareness campaign.
Describe more of like the main objectives when you come back to the Philippines and what you're trying to accomplish here.
It's like, how do we create awareness?
Gina explains that in the Philippines, most people call transgender women bakla, the Filipino term for gay, and that there isn't an understanding that there is a difference between bakla and transgender women. So, she is focusing on educating the transgender community.
We're headed into a workshop that Gina's hosting for the transgender community, where Mackie will also be speaking.
They're both going to share their perspectives on storytelling and the power of using your voice for human rights advocacy.
So this is New York Times. They have this editorial called Transgender Lives. My dream is one day we have this also in the Philippines, that we could share our story, because nobody knows our stories than ourselves.
Gina hopes that members of the Filipino transgender community are willing to speak up so that the government will be able to collect the data they need to help push through some of the legislation that will help the LGBT community.
When we lobby for anti-discrimination, we cannot lobby that to our legislators without data. And we cannot have data if you will not report because you don't know your right.
Kate Monte Carlo is known by many as Mother Kate because of the website she created to advocate for transgender rights.
Trans women are marginalized sector of the women community, and that should be addressed. And we have special needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
HIV advocacy is a major issue. Discrimination in the corporate world. There are a lot of trans women who don't have work. Also, Asia is the highest when it comes to transgender murder incidents. So right now my concentration is not just educating the community, but also identifying champions and developing, empowering trans leaders so that they can replicate the work.
Before we leave the Philippines, we're going to stop by Mackie's place to talk to her and her boyfriend, Cyril, about the new transgender dating website they created called mytranssexualdate.com.
What are some of the negative perceptions or connotations around transgender dating that you're trying to obliterate through this new site?
The sexual part, really. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing.
Sort of the fetishized idea around.
Yes.
You can say that it sounds obvious, but all the dating sites that catered to transgender women before we started, they all allowed nudity.
I've been into other dating sites before. You get a message one day and then the profile pic is just a male's genitalia.
It is incredibly difficult for transgender women to find work, so some, not all, are forced to use their sexuality to pay their bills. This has caused the transgender community to have a stigma that is increasingly hard for them to change.
Transgender women are just any other human beings. I mean, we find love, we find relationship.
Well, it's clear that the love you guys have for each other and your relationship is a force of strength for the community, so kudos to you.
Thank you.
We are wrapping our time up here in the Philippines. How was it for you?
I think one of the things that really hit home for me was learning about the fight for the ultimate feminine expression.
It's as simple as being recognized for the woman that you are.
That's what we all want.
To be recognized as a multi-dimensional, nuanced female experience.
Trans women's rights are women's rights. And actually, I feel like it makes more sense to fit the transgender fight under the women's umbrella.
And I can't think of a community more than the transgendered community that's fighting more prolifically for gender equality than they are.
It would free up society, it would be so fun and colorful and diverse and things that benefit everybody.
Love the Philippines. Other takeaway, just a note.